You didn't ask, but we're going to be reviewing Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning. I'm Tyler.
I'm Spencer.
We're going to be starting this off with a spoiler-free review and our rating out of 10, and then we're going to be going into spoilers, talk about everything from the movie, and I guess the entire franchise, what we think. So let's get into it. All right, spoiler-free review. What did you think of Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning?
Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning. I'd give it probably a 7 out of 10, 7.5 out of 10.
Yeah.
It was a fun movie. If you've seen the other 7, you'll probably enjoy this one. I liked it more than I liked the 7th movie, actually. This
Really?
one felt faster paced.
I disagree.
Really?
Yeah.
You liked the 7th movie better than the 8th one?
Yeah.
Why?
I think the first half of this movie is a little slow, to be honest. I think they spend a lot of time doing flashbacks and stuff, and kind of showing off what the whole franchise has done, which I guess is like deserving considering like this franchise has been going on for how long, and
Yeah.
Tom Cruise has been doing absolutely insane stunts for 20 plus years. So I think they deserve to show that, like, flex a little on us. Like, I think Mission Impossible deserves to flex on us a little bit for the first hour of this movie, but I think like it definitely slows down that beginning portion.
Interesting. I felt like in the 7th movie, the vast majority of it was kind of slow paced, and then right at the end, they were kind of jamming in all the action for the whole movie. And then in this one, I felt like it came out of the gates like pretty quick.
Yeah, and that's interesting. I mean, I kind of feel like both of them have the same thing. I kind of felt like both of them started out pretty slow, and then got fast towards the end. But yeah, I mean, I think I have to agree. I think overall, I'd give this one like a 7, maybe a 7.5 out of 10. Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning is the perfect way to start the summer blockbusters. It's got fun action, amazing stunts, good comedy in it for when it needs it. Tom Cruise on the big screen doing absolutely insane stunts, and then crappy villains and crappy plot
Definitely had a
points.
couple of those.
Yeah, and crappy plot points. Like, it's the perfect
Few
summer
plot holes,
blockbuster.
All in all, fun family movie.
Yeah, a fun family movie. Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning is the definition of summer blockbuster to me. I mean, it literally just exudes like blockbuster, like fun action popcorn flick that if you're a fan of the series, you're probably gonna like. But if you're coming into it somewhat new, like me, I haven't seen all of the Mission Impossibles. I've seen them throughout my life. I've watched it with my dad. So I'm not like a diehard fan of it, but I do think that if you are a diehard fan, this Mission Impossible, the final Mission Impossible, is like the end game, Avengers Endgame of the Marvel.
You think this is actually going to be the last movie? I feel like they're going to do more, but they're kind of setting up like a team switch.
Oh, 1,000. Spencer, do you know Hollywood? Hollywood is not going to let a franchise go if it makes money.
If it's got 8 movies deep.
They just set up a whole new character of Grace, and she's going to become probably the next Mission Impossible person, and a new team with underdeveloped characters from this movie. So, no, but like Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning is basically Avengers Endgame, but for Mission Impossible. It finishes off Ethan Hunt's story in a really rounded way. Whether or not you like that as a Mission Impossible fan or not, who knows? But like that's what it does, and it opens up for future installments, which I would not be surprised if they make spin-offs or TV shows or.
Yeah, I feel like they're definitely going to do something to expand the Mission Impossible universe after this.
They're not going to let it go.
I've seen, I think, 5 out of the 8
Yeah.
movies, but I really liked how they brought back stuff that was set
From, like,
up
the
in
old
other
ones.
movies
Yeah.
and tried to bring it back in like a
retconning
new,
it in a way. Yeah. See,
there are some parts that I thought maybe they went too far with. Like, could they have really ever thought of that
No.
in advance? Like, they had to have gone back and just like retconned it, like you're saying.
they did,
But
yeah.
I do think that they brought in some cool elements from the past movies, some bigger elements that had happened in those
Yeah.
films. They found new and interesting ways to make them relevant again.
Yeah, and I definitely agree. Again, being kind of newer to the franchise, I just accepted what they were telling me. But yeah, I mean, I've always liked Mission Impossible. I just never like fully watched every movie in the series. But
What's your favorite Mission Impossible movie, if you have one?
I think my favorite would have to be Mission Impossible Fallout. I think Henry Cavill's arm reloading,
Yeah.
dude, that altered my brain chemistry. Like that made me feel something. That made me feel something.
No, that was a good one.
Yeah, I think that one's my favorite.
That one's up there. That one's up
It
there.
has like probably one of the best hand-to-hand combat scenes with the bathroom fight scene where he reloads his arms.
Yeah.
It's so, I was watching it right before this and I'm like, dude, like this is awesome.
That was an action movie
Yeah.
for sure. I think my favorite is probably Ghost Protocol.
Yeah, that's a good
Like
one.
that scene where they're in Dubai and he's scaling the building.
Yeah.
I was like, that's one of the cooler things I've seen in a spy movie. What would your review for Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning be if you gave it out of 10?
I'm going to give it, I think like we said before, I think it's going to stay at like a 7.5 out of 10. I think it has fun action, awesome stunts. I wish we had a little bit more hand-to-hand combat. It was a lot of environmental combat, which I love, and I think is like what the Mission Impossible series is known for. But man, they do hand-to-hand combat so good. I just kind of wish we got a little bit more of that. Some plot points were a little cheesy and a little filled with plot holes, which it's a spy thriller. Like I'm not expecting anything, but some of them were so like glaringly there that it's like eye roll. Crappy villain, cool, I think, story or plot overall. What about you?
Yeah, right on target. I give it probably a 7.5 out of 10
Yeah.
also. I think that the entity just isn't that compelling of a villain to me. Like having AI, like, and I get the like fear aspect, like with AI growing the way that it is just in general in our lives right now. Like there's probably a lot of people that would be scared of that.
Yeah.
But as a movie villain, especially for a movie on this scale, I would have liked it to be a real human. And I think Gabriel did a little bit, but he was just kind of around.
Gabriel was literally just like a mustache twirling villain in Mission Impossible Final Reckoning. Like
he didn't
was just
feel like the big bad
No.
of a movie of this scale.
not even that, but he
should've
didn't feel like the big bad of an entire series. I mean, this is 8 series long or 8 films long. He doesn't feel like the culmination of what it seems that Mission Impossible has built up.
Yeah.
So
Even if it wouldn't have made as much sense, I wouldn't have minded if there was like an actual person behind the entity that was already controlling it. Like in the movie, everybody's kind of vying for control over the entity, like across the globe, like all the most powerful nations and stuff. But if there was already a person that was using the entity to disrupt the entire world, I feel like that would have made for a better story.
Yeah, no, I think that's actually a really good point. But I think we're ready to talk spoilers, so we're gonna be getting into the spoilers for Mission Impossible: Final Reckoning. If you haven't watched it, go see it. Fun summer blockbuster.
Check it out for sure.
So I guess while we were just talking about the entity, one of the things I thought was interesting with the entity was I agree with what you said, but I also don't agree. I think it's kind of cool that the entity, if we're going to go the AI route, this all-knowing AI thing, I kind of thought it was cheesy when the AI talked to Ethan in the
mind
chamber. I was
chamber.
like, dude, I just think it's cooler if it's like this AI program who like, I think it would have been cooler in Mission Impossible Final Reckoning if the entity was literally just like out in the web. Like there was no
way to
capture it. Not even just capture it, but like when he talks to it, it makes it feel more like tangible. And I think it's scarier if it's not tangible.
If it's just a rogue
program
to wipe out
it's
the
like
human race.
the way when you talk to it, it makes it like more of a monster. And that's cool and all, but like I feel like they didn't go enough into it. So this one scene where the AI talks to Ethan, it's like what?
Maybe that's why I felt like they should have had like
someone behind it,
a real person, because that scene probably would have hit harder if it was between him and like a real guy.
Here's
girl,
where I think
guess.
also is like I think it could have been cool if we just saw the entity just destroying the world on its own, and there really isn't one person to take down that will solve it all. But what could have been cool is if you have like I'm assuming if America has their version of the IMF, right? If they have their IMF, they have their Ethan Hunt. If America has their Ethan Hunt, I'm sure every other country has their Ethan Hunt. So I think it would have been cool to have like all the different nations' versions of Ethan Hunt, not like multiverse, but like their top specialist agent,
like all going to the same place, and then they have like a fist fight. Yeah,
that's what
like
I'm saying. Is like
to
all to control this thing, or Ethan's trying to destroy it. Maybe one other guy's trying to destroy it, but they don't know that, and they're not trusting because you can't trust another country to get this thing. And so I think that could have been cool instead of it being like a, you know,
kind of a callback to another movie we just saw. But in the Marvel movie, the last Marvel movie we saw,
Thunderbolts.
The Thunderbolts. Like they have that part where like everybody kind of meets up in that hangar. A scene like that with all of the theoretical Ethan Hunts of every country.
That's what I'm saying. Like I'm saying, like it could have been really cool to have like this moment where it's all Ethan Hunt kind of. It's a race between the Ethan Hunts of the world, trying to do good for their country instead of it being this mustache twirling evil villain of Gabriel, who's I'm gonna take over the world. It's like,
and then I feel like having already seen Gabriel in the last movie, and then even just like this small time skip between the 7th to 8th movie, I would have liked to see how the world kind of fell into the full trap of the entity that it was setting, rather than the movie starting off and it's just. The entity has taken over.
Yes, I that's one thing I was going to bring up next is the fact that I wish we actually saw the entity doing more to the world. Yes, the entire movie is the fact that it is taking over the nuclear bases and the bombs from all the different countries, and it's threatening to destroy the entire world. But all we're seeing is like the country flash red, and it's like, oh no. I wish we saw, like in the beginning, they do a little montage where they show like how it's like changing videos to look different, and they're changing audio to incite chaos. I wish we saw more of that. Like I wish we saw like almost this post-apocalyptic world in a way that Ethan Hunt has to navigate in order to destroy the entity, instead of it just being like another spy thriller with like it's just basically it's a bomb countdown. That's all it was. You know, in 30 minutes the bomb's gonna go off. Can you save it? And I wish we actually saw the entity doing more entity stuff.
It would have been cool to see how they like sifted through all of the fake information to get the location and stuff of the submarine.
They kind of like easily like if you've ever watched pitch meetings, I think that's what they're called. I'm forgetting the exact name, but there's this YouTube channel and this guy, he does pitch meetings after a movie comes out. It's just he's talking to himself. Absolutely hilarious. Watched them all my life. And like a way a pitch meeting could be for like this movie is like, oh, the entity has taken over all of the technology in the world. You can't trust anything. Oh my God, how are they ever going to find a submarine in this gigantic ocean? Oh, it's easy, barely any inconvenience. He's just going to jump in the water and they're going to happen to be below him. It's like, what? Like he didn't go through any problems of like finding, like navigating this world that has to be analog unless you can't trust the, you know, it's just very easy. Like I wish we saw them struggling more of like in a digital age dealing with the fact they can't trust digital.
Also didn't like how for a plan as ridiculously convoluted as the one that they came up with, they basically foresaw every possible outcome down to like the letter. Like even him getting like the bends and stuff, like trying to swim back up to the surface, they literally knew everything that was going to happen and nothing went sideways. And for a impossible mission, like there really weren't that many like throw-offs by the seemingly all-knowing, basically omnipotent AI at this point.
The entity in Mission Impossible Final Reckoning reminded me of a big problem I had with a leader in Captain America Brave New World. The leader in Brave New World is supposed to be this guy who's thought of every outcome, knows the percentages of every outcome, but yet every step of the way he's wrong and he gets outmaneuvered. It is the same thing with the entity. He's supposed to, like, this entity is supposed to be able to calculate every possibility and every maneuver and be able to figure things out. And for the most part, it was wrong, like almost every step of the way.
Yeah, and they tried to like kind of let you know with like Ethan Hunt being like, the entity knows, so we're gonna do this because that's not what the entity would expect. But like at a certain point, if the entity is as smart as the movie is telling us that it is, the entity should be right about something.
Yeah, no,
like
totally.
They shouldn't be taking losses after loss after loss.
Yeah,
like the entire step of the plan.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like the entity, it has a cool premise, mostly in like today's age where AI is very prevalent and a possible very big problem in our world for good and for bad. And I do like that they brought up like an AI like that could be like super strong and it could be like actually really helpful, but it's like you can't trust that power to anyone.
Yeah.
So the entity was an interesting villain, but the thing is like the movie the movie makes you realize that Mission Impossible Final Reckoning pushes the entity as the main villain, but it also pushes Gabriel as the main villain. Yeah. What did you think of Gabriel in Mission Impossible Final Reckoning?
In Mission Impossible Final Reckoning, I felt like Gabriel was kind of like a weak villain, especially for a movie of this magnitude.
Yeah.
Like, if you're trying to cap off or at least neatly wrap up Ethan Hunt's storyline, to me, you need a stronger villain than what Gabriel did. And I don't feel like his acting was bad or anything like that.
No, I think it was just the writing.
The character that they created for him to be wasn't impactful enough outside of just, I'm an evil guy.
Yeah.
Haha. TV.
Yeah, like, no, that's it. Like he's just totally like straight out of a cartoon.
Anything that's just like, that's the guy I'm going to remember forever.
100%. Mission Impossible Fallout, I love it when we see our hero get bloodied, beaten up, and it's like they just won by the skin of their teeth. And at the end of that movie with his fight with Henry Cavill, like Ethan Hunt is like literally on the edge of a cliff, like about to die. And in this one, like, I don't like, if it was just Ethan Hunt and Gabriel in a room in a fist fight and Gabriel couldn't escape, Gabriel's losing. Like, there's no way he's winning. And I feel like that's just because even if he is like a really skilled hand-to-hand combat, combatant, they don't portray him as that. So what you get is a very mustache-twirling villain who runs away at every step of the way, and it's just like this cat and mouse chase that gets boring because it's the
second movie.
This is 5 hours.
Eluded Ethan Hunt rather than
fighting him and like 5 hours. Because I watched Dead Reckoning Part 1 or Dead Reckoning like right before going to see this one. I just hadn't gotten the chance to watch it, and so that's like. What, like almost 6 hours of Mission Impossible in a row. And so at a certain point I was like, okay, Gabriel, I'm not vibing with you as a villain anymore. Like, he was the type of villain, like, I'm a big villain guy. I love villains.
I feel like the villain makes the movie.
I think Gabriel Mission Impossible Final Reckoning he didn't cut it for me. I wanted him to die every time he was on screen because I was like, he's just not that fun. And it's not the actor, it's just like the way they wrote him.
Sonny's having fun though.
Sonny, what did you think of Mission Impossible Final Reckoning? Would you give it 1 or 2 paws? Nice. Okay. There you go.
5 out of.
Yeah, so the villain wasn't great, but I feel like a lot of the times in Mission Impossible movies and like spy movies, it's also more about the way that the stunts, the environmental action you're gonna get and stuff like that. So what did you think of the environmental action and set pieces in Mission Impossible Final Reckoning?
In Mission Impossible Final Reckoning, I would say the strongest thing in the movie to me was the stunts and effects that they used. Dude, they did a spectacular job. I don't even know how they filmed some of that stuff.
Yeah, no, it's Tom Cruise, man. He might be a weird guy, but he's insane. He's insane.
Like in the submarine, the Sevastopol, I think it was.
Sevastopol, yeah.
That scene where he's like trying to get through like one end of the sub to the other end while it's like tipping over. That was insane.
Yeah.
And don't even get me started on the plane scene.
Yeah. We'll talk about the plane scene in a little bit, but yeah, let's talk about the submarine scene because the submarine scene is like one of the big scenes everyone's been talking about in this new Mission Impossible. I'm not as high on it as what other people said for not any other reason, but when you have a 3-hour movie, I feel like the build-up to getting to the submarine was a little boring for me. We got the one hand-to-hand fight, which I liked.
Yeah.
But, like, I don't know. Once he was in the submarine, great. I don't know. Like, I don't know. I feel like it just gets, the submarine scene in the new Mission Impossible gets so outshined by the airplane scene for me.
I do think the airplane scene was better, but I think what brought down the submarine thing to me was that they told you so much about everything that was going to happen before it happened that you're kind of just waiting and expecting like certain checkpoints rather than just organically watching the scene.
One of the best parts is when it does go wrong, when he can't fit into the torpedo hole and he's got to like undress or whatever. Like that was crazy. Like that was cool, but everything else besides that, he's just kind of climbing through the submarine.
Yeah.
And it's cool. But here's the other thing. I think the reason that the submarine scene falls a little short for me in terms of just Mission Impossible stunts is because, yes, I did see a video. Tom Cruise held his breath for 6 minutes for each take.
6 minutes?
For each take. Yeah, he had to do intensive training. Right, so that's insane already. Right. But And I can't do any of that. So you know what? That's like an A plus, right? So I'm not trying to say that.
We gotta
but
give
for
it
me,
points off that.
holding onto an airplane while it's flying, you can't even breathe because of the wind and everything. That to me is like more, because when he's on a set.
Yeah.
He's not in the actual Arctic Ocean or anything. He's on a set with a green screen behind him because there's no actual submarine, right? But when he's on that plane, he's on that plane. So when I'm watching the submarine scene, I'm just kind of like, okay, there's CGI here. But on that plane scene, that wasn't CGI.
Like when he was trying to like climb and like maneuver his body to like stay upright on the plane, that was one of the cooler things I've ever seen in a spy movie.
I think the thing is like, maybe if I went back into this, watching this a second time, and I watched the submarine scene and I knew that he was holding his breath that whole time, I think I'd be more in all of it. But on first watch, I just figured that they cut and let him breathe, you know, every 10 seconds. So you know what? It does like bump up a little bit for me, but dude, the plane scene just for me outshines it. It just sucks that it's Gabriel flying the plane that he's fighting. Like it just made it so. I wish it was just the AI like controlling the plane or something. That wouldn't make sense because it's an analog plane. But like, Gabriel just sucked.
I don't know
Gabriel
how they set that up, but it would have been cool if like the last remnants of like the entity were like controlling the plane.
I don't know how.
But if they had like a digital plane or something for it to be able to hack,
or it just would have been
Ethan was on it,
or maybe it just goes haywire and it's just flying through the air and like the controls broke, so it's just like, and he's just got to get in there and like I don't know. But even just like the color grading in that scene, like the one yellow plane, the red plane, yellow,
just, like,
red,
it popped
green.
The green.
I want to go wherever that was filmed. I want to go because that looked
location.
Beautiful, dude. I'm like, I would, if I was Tom Cruise, I'd be like, I want to film this location, not because it makes sense for the story, but because I want to go there.
Right.
So the submarine scene was really cool, and I think knowing that Tom Cruise held his breath for 6 minutes for each take, because remember, you got to go into the water, hold your breath, let the bubbles go away, because there should be no bubbles.
Yeah, if you've been down there
for a little bit. And then he's got to wait for the camera to be set. They got to slate it, whatever. I'm sure they do that before. And then they got to yell action, and then they go, I'll be dead. I wouldn't be able to do it.
I'm not making it.
But that's why Tom Cruise is the GOAT of action movies.
That's why Tom Cruise is...
How long do you think you could hold your breath for?
Maybe like a minute.
Minute? I don't think you're lasting a minute.
You don't think I can hold my breath for a minute?
I don't think you're holding your breath for a minute.
You definitely can't hold your breath for a minute.
I'm holding my breath for at least 4 minutes.
If you're getting to 4 minutes, there's no way I'm not doing more.
No, there's no way you're getting.
That's ridiculous.
But yeah, so let's talk about the plane scene. We talked about it a little bit more. Like, dude, that plane scene was insane. Just like it twirling around, him continually maneuvering himself. And I love the point where Gabriel tries to like maneuver the wing and he can't do it, and he looks over and it's because Ethan's got his foot against it. And it's just cool because like in that, I wouldn't even think about that because we don't fly analog planes, you know, so I wouldn't even think about the fact that he could literally just stop the plane from moving. So what did you think of the plane
scene? I love the plane scene. Like when he climbed in the first like passenger seat and then it didn't work and he's like, dang it.
Yeah, right. It can never be easy. He's got to now flip back, and he flips backwards and he catches it and goes, and
then goes into the other seat, and I was like, dude.
Yeah, I mean, when you're watching that plane scene, Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning is like the perfect summer blockbuster. Like that is what isn't that what we like when we like summer blockbusters?
That's what we think about.
That's what we're thinking about. Just pure adrenaline action, amazing stunts. Like you can't get much better than that. So that plane scene really was like, I was like, yeah, this is what we're here for. What did you think of the lack of hand-to-hand combat in this one? Did you miss it? Did you want it? Is that not what you look for in a Mission Impossible movie?
I do like the hand-to-hand combat scenes, but I felt like the scale of this movie was so large that like there wasn't much time for it. Now I do think that one scene where he was in the other submarine before he went to the Sevastopol and he got to fight the guy that was one of the entity's like followers.
Yeah, that was cool.
Was interesting, but I feel like there should have been more entity followers. Also,
they set it up.
They set it up like there were going to be like a ton of these guys, and you only really saw.
That's what I'm saying. Is like, what if that like, wouldn't the entity be sending people to this vault to let them in and stuff like? And
wasn't there one with the president too?
Yeah, that was like we saw cabinet. Two. I wish we saw more. I wish it was one of those like spy movies where you can't trust anyone.
Yeah,
and it's like, who can I trust? I can't trust. And like, it kind of is.
It is.
But it isn't because they don't really like. They don't push into that.
There were like a lot of things that just left me kind of like wondering. Yeah. Like how when they got the location of the Sevastopol and they beamed it to them, but then they put it backwards and then somehow they were the only people that knew that.
People who ever figured it out.
like, oh, that's on the other side of the world. The Russians will never guess that. But like, dude, they also watched you go to basically that exact same location and then turn around.
No, yeah, but why would they not guess that?
But like, I'm saying, like, even in a vacuum, like they probably would have guessed that. But like, having watched a different U.S. sub go to the exact location opposite on the, like, how are they not putting that together?
Okay, so that gets into the next point, a little bit of plot holes in this movie. And it's a spy movie. Like, we're not expecting like
the deepest most intricate plot ever.
But there's I don't know the science of it, but my brain tells me that if I was completely shirtless in everything, only in underwater in the Arctic Ocean, I would be dead. And I know they say, but like the reason because he was decompression, but I feel like my body would just like freeze instantly, and I'd be like, and he was so far down, and it was like, how do you?
If he's down to where like the submarine like actually crashed at, it's got to be low enough that nobody could just look in the water and see that.
Right, and also he was low enough.
And there's
like,
other
remember, because the submarine
area
started like falling off that cliff, and he was a little down. Like,
how did the pressure not just?
That's what I'm saying is like I know they explain it, and maybe the science makes sense, but I don't know. But from like a movie viewing point, I'm like, how are you not exploding? How is your body?
How do your lungs not just pop under that kind of pressure?
Yeah, under that, like all that water pressure, and in the freezing cold, that water's got to be frigid, dude. There's no way you're making it to the ice pool, like the ice up top.
And they kind of said like, oh, we're counting on him freezing because then it'll give us more time to like resuscitate him in the chamber.
Yeah,
but I don't know. Like when I saw him like struggling to get to the top, my brain was just thinking like, that's a guy that should have drowned.
He should be dead. There is so many times in this Mission Impossible movie where Ethan Hunt should have died.
I mean, that's kind of like every Mission Impossible movie though. Like when you see him like hanging onto the side of like a plane or something. Yeah, well,
I guess I mean like there's moments where it's like if the plot armor wasn't there, he would be dead. But there's points where it's
Ethan
like
Hunt wasn't a certified super soldier.
Yeah, literally.
He'd have died in the first
he's also
one.
60 years old. Like I don't know how canonically old Ethan Hunt is, probably same age as Tom Cruise, but you're dead. You're not swimming up. But I mean, but at the same time, we make those remarks just because it's like funny to point them out, and we would look at each other in the movie and be like, "This guy should be dead. Like, there's no way this guy's alive." But I'm not going to a Mission Impossible Summer Blockbuster movie and caring about those things.
Yeah.
If the action exceeds the down part. And I think in this movie, the action did exceed it when the action happened. Because I think that first hour and a half of that movie was a little slow.
So what do you think about the like opening scene then when they kind of go to that party and then they get kidnapped? Was that like slow paced to you?
The problem was it was like, what happened there? Think about it. Like they got kidnapped. I guess when Gabriel, but then you have Gabriel again interrogating them, and I don't care about Gabriel as a villain.
I actually felt like I had the opposite problem in this movie than I did with Mission Impossible 7. In Mission Impossible 7, I felt like I was waiting the whole time for the action, but in this one, the action was going so fast, it was kind of making my brain like wonder, is this really even possible to happen all in the time span that they're saying? Like they said they had 72 hours to do all the stuff that happened in this whole movie.
Dude,
there were times where they would blink and the sun would still be up and they went like across the whole globe.
Okay,
and I would literally be like, are we teleporting?
Yeah, no. Mission Impossible Final Reckoning's got a teleporter somewhere. Like Ethan Hunt's got a teleporter. How is he going across the world and time is just not going?
Dude, you know those videos of like Ashton Hall where he jumps up and it's like 4 minutes later he hits the water. Yeah. That's how time was working in Mission Impossible 8, the Final Reckoning.
Yeah, no.
There were moments where they would like blink and be like across the planet and you'd be like, how did they get there that fast?
Yeah, right.
How is it still the same day?
And again, but I feel like that's just like, but here's a devil's advocate for that. Mm-hmm. Would you rather see them get on a plane and fly and then get off the plane and it's like, okay, now it's really boring. We're at a 3 hour movie and now we're even going longer. Or I think it's also just like, I think that's just like the cliche of like these spy movies. Like, do you really care?
You do have to like kind of
suspend your disbelief.
Yeah, the disbelief.
Like, but again, in a bad spy movie, I would knock it more because the action doesn't warrant me not seeing that. But in the movie like this, like even
there's definitely going to be some times where if you think about it, it'll take the fun away from you. Yeah. But dude, it's Mission Impossible.
It's Mission Impossible.
You're going in to see those blockbuster scenes,
exactly,
those insane stunts that Tom Cruise and everybody else is pulling off. Like, That's what we live for.
Yeah, in Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning, we have such a weird group of heroes that come together, and only 2 of them are characterized, or three.
I still don't understand how or why that one guy was
cop.
there. It was like in the room when they were busting her out of jail, and they were like, "Hey, you want to come on the most classified mission in U.S. Not even U.S.
Yeah,
like
just
international scale."
Just because he like turned his mind, he's like, "You guys are doing the right thing." Like I know they set that up in the first movie where he's like, "What if Ethan Hunt's been doing the right thing the entire time?" They're like, "Shut up."
Yeah,
but like that's all the character development they gave. That's the character development they gave him is he likes Ethan.
He didn't shoot them when he had the chance, so I guess they're boys for life.
I guess, and he's just there the whole time. He just goes with them everywhere. Trust them. They trust him with everything. I thought he was going to turn on them at one point. No.
No.
And same thing with Mantis, right?
I mean, I can like sort of see why she like.
Oh no, I get
Ethan because it's like everything that happened on like the train and stuff in the last movie. So like they built some rapport.
No, I totally get why she's there. It's just more like they don't give her any more character development. It's hey, I turned on Gabriel. I like you. Okay, that's it. That's all. And then she. Yeah,
but it's Ethan Hunt, and he had the long hair in this movie. So,
do you like long hair Ethan Hunt or short hair Ethan Hunt?
Got to be the long hair. Got to have the lettuce.
The lettuce. I think I like short hair Ethan Hunt better.
That's a hot take.
I don't know if it is. Tell us, is that a hot take? What kind of hair you like Ethan
Hunt do you like better?
We got to talk about, and it's like a meme at this point. Tom Cruise is running. That guy.
He had a lot of running.
Like this, just pure, like just. He has the most over-exaggerated running stance, and it's funny. Like he does it on purpose, obviously. Like that's his thing. But dude, I can't wait to watch the montages of Ethan Hunt running with this movie now because there's so many times.
If you clocked Ethan Hunt's 40, what do you think he's running?
Oh my god, I don't even know.
He's got to be moving.
Oh, dude,
at least a 4.4.
He tried running after a moving plane, dude. That guy thought he could catch up. Like he.
I mean, he kind of did though.
Yeah. But yeah. I mean, overall, I liked it. I don't think it's perfect. I think it drags a little bit. 3 hours is long.
It's a long movie.
3 hours is long. I didn't know it was 3 hours. And I remember I checked my phone. I was like, oh, we got to be ending now. And it didn't end. And I was like, oh my god. And then it didn't end. And I was like, oh my god.
Because they fit so many like major like
plot
stunt scenes.
Yeah. Oh,
like
stunt,
that. Like the sub thing that they set up probably was a whole movie in it of itself.
Yeah, and then the whole plane thing was a movie in itself, and then the whole bunker scene was a movie in itself, and then the whole getting the coordinates was a movie in itself.
Yeah.
Like, and that's cool, but the pacing feels off because you also feel rushed in certain aspects, but it's also a 3-hour movie. It's also long in some aspects. So,
like, I do feel that where it's like some parts felt like they were too quickly paced, other parts it was like, okay, this is kind of dragging. But I think if they had broken up this 3-hour movie into like 2 more movies and it was like a trilogy for the end, it would have been worse.
Yeah, no, I do agree. If you had to choose the best action franchises in Hollywood, what are you picking?
Mission Impossible up there. I put Fast and Furious up there.
Okay.
Not because like Fast and Furious movies are like the best.
Good. No, they're just fun. That's what I'm saying.
They're just so much like fun. Like you just kind of turn your brain off and it's like Vin Diesel, family,
family. Action.
Oh, then 007 movies.
Yeah. I would say like probably like James Bond that whole series, Mission Impossible, and John Wick.
Oh, I didn't even, dude.
Yeah,
John Wick got.
I think John Wick and Mission Impossible are the top tier.
Number one.
I think John Wick and Mission Impossible are the top tier goats for action movies. Like hand to hand.
The John Wick movies have like the most fun like plots, I guess. Yeah. In the unnecessary action scenes and the over the top killing and things.
I think what John Wick does that Mission Impossible doesn't do is John Wick has John Wick's. Let me ask you this question. What hand-to-hand combat do you like better? Mission Impossible's hand-to-hand combat or John Wick's hand-to-hand combat?
I like John Wick's combat better. Yeah. Like, I think the way that the action works, even though it's like over the top and you kind of wonder like, how's John Wick never getting hit? But like the fact that you see him reload, like you see how much ammo he has. So that's like, you can tell like he feels every hit that he's getting punched with. Like sometimes in the like spy movies, like Mission Impossible or even Fast and Furious, you kind of wonder like, are these superhumans that we're watching that have like way bigger health pools than like a normal human should have? How are they not feeling anything?
I'll pick John Wick. I think the way that they utilize normal everyday objects as weapons
Right.
is just absolutely genius. I absolutely love the hand-to-hand combat in those movies. It's god tier. It is god tier. I don't think anything has topped it yet. But there's a couple scenes and throughout the entire Mission Impossible franchise that are great. But one thing I don't like the Mission Impossible, or at least this movie and Dead Reckoning Part 1, is I really didn't feel like Ethan Hunt was taking a lot of damage. Like, I didn't feel like he had a lot of blood on him. Like, he's going through hell, and he comes out looking like he just got out of the shower. And so, like, I like the fact in John Wick and stuff that he's hurt. Like, he's hurt. And I just love that because it makes him not feel superhuman.
Yeah. I think one of the differences, though, is, like, at least in Mission Impossible, The Final Reckoning, we kind of see Ethan tackling things that aren't necessarily like physical fights.
Yes. Well, they're environmental
or like
fights.
environmental fights. I guess that's a better way to put it. But he's not really fighting against like one guy.
Yeah.
It's just like he has a difficult task that he's got to conquer.
Yeah.
Versus like John Wick 1v1ing like a small army.
So yeah, that's what I was gonna say is John Wick has the better hand-to-hand fights.
For sure.
Mission Impossible has the better environmental action and the better stunts. That's the way that I look at it. Would you rewatch Mission Impossible Final Reckoning, or is this a one-time watch?
I would watch it again. I would go back and watch it again after watching the 7th one.
Yeah.
Like back to back, because it's been probably like a few months since I've seen the number 7. So I think watching them back to back to see just how everything was supposed to go together. Maybe if I ever go back and I watch like all the movies like in a row, I'll pick up more on what they were saying in the 8th movie about
like all the connections.
Yeah, like all the little tiny minute details that came back.
Yeah, I don't think I'd go back to the theaters to see it again.
Yeah.
I think it's a good summer blockbuster. Yeah, I think it was fun. I think it was good. I'm happy we got to see it in theaters. I think you should go watch it. I think this is a theater movie. Like, I think this is what you go to the theater to watch. Like, it's just action. It's just, the stunts and everything amazing on the big screen. So that's our review of Mission Impossible, the Final Reckoning. Fun action movie, mediocre plot, bad villain. That's the way that I think the best way to put it.
Yeah, Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning had great fight scenes, great environmental scenes.
Yep.
Kind of a mid villain.
Yeah. And mid plot.
Yeah. Plot wasn't great.
I think the plot had the potential to be good, but I just don't think it hit home exactly.
If you're going to see a Mission Impossible movie, though,
you're getting what you want.
Yeah.
You're getting what you want. If you want to see a Mission Impossible movie, you're getting what you want, and you're getting a little extra because it's just absolutely stellar.
you want to see Tom Cruise do some cool stuff, you're going to do it.
Exactly. So, on that note, though, on our outro, real quick, we got to talk about the movie theater experience.
It was a unique experience, to say the least.
So we're in the theater, the reclining chairs, and this couple sits next to me, probably in their 30s. And throughout the trailers, they're making like
their 30s.
Yeah, I think they're in their 30s. What did you think? More?
I thought they were older than that.
Really, I didn't want to look at them too much.
Yeah.
That sounds really
based
bad.
off what you were hearing in there. I guess
So they're making jokes. So maybe they were older. Yeah, you are right. So they're making jokes to each other throughout the entire trailers, but like loud enough in the hopes that like someone could hear it next to them, which was only me because they were at the end.
And were you laughing at the joke?
No, it's a terrible joke. Okay, so we get into the theater, and these people sit next to me, probably we said in like their 40s or whatever, and throughout the trailers they're making like jokes to each other, like weird jokes, not like weird, but just like bad jokes, but they're saying it loud enough in the hopes that someone next to them will laugh and like talk to them, but I'm the only one sitting next to them. So they're waiting for me. And in the middle of the movie, I see the girl next to me, her legs just like fling up and like lay on the seat. I'm like, that's weird, that can't be comfortable, right?
What was going through your head at that moment?
I was like, dude, am I about to you know what was going through my head.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what the hell? And so they have the popcorn bucket on the
like the center divider,
on the armrest. And so I go to like take a sip of my drink and I like get a peek of them. I didn't mean to. I just wanted to drink my drink, but I can't help but make eye contact with them. And she's like, she's like kind of like laying on the armrest, like on his chest, and he's like stroking her hair. And I'm like, oh, this can't be comfortable. Like I'm not saying don't do that, but that can't be comfortable. But it was like she was just leaning on the armrest a little bit. Like, that's got to hurt your ribs. Whatever. The movie ends. The lights turn on. We get up and we have to pass by them to leave the theater. And we stand up.
First thing I see, this guy, he's got to be like 6'6", like curled up in the fetal position.
Over top the armrest.
Over both armrests, both feet somehow in the chair too.
Yeah.
Like curled over
the armrest into the girl's lap as she's sitting there stroking his hair like a cat. And the lights are on, everyone's getting up to leave, and they're just laying there. This guy's laying across the entire seats, over top of the armrest, and they look up at us like we interrupted them.
Yeah. The eye contact was like very strange.
They looked up at us like.
And like you're just trying to like get
get past it because they got
like on the seat. They still have their like leg rests out, so like there's only like a little sliver of space to like walk across.
Laying across the entire seat, just getting his head stroked.
They were having fun like they were at home.
I was like, we're like in a shared space, you know. So yeah, the movie theater experience with that was a little weird, but honestly, I was kind of laughing. I was like, "What the hell is happening here?"
So, dude, I'm surprised you didn't hear some other stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I thought I was going to, honestly, and you know what?
Yeah, and then you would have hopped in and joined them.
Yeah, I would have hopped in there. And you would have already been in there. Yeah. Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning is the start of the summer blockbusters, and as we saw in the trailers for the movie, there are a ton of summer blockbusters coming out. Let me just read off a list right now of a couple. We've got Karate Kid, How to Train Your Dragon, Lilo and Stitch, F1, Superman, Fantastic Four, Jurassic World, the Predator animated movie, Bring Her Back, Final Destination, 28 Years Later, Ballerina, and probably more.
It's a lot of great films. I'm gonna say you left out our friend Trey's favorite movie,
The
Naked Gun. He is very excited to see this movie.
Is anyone excited to watch The Naked Gun?
Do you know or have you heard of anyone excited to see
We saw the trailer for it, and it honestly looks absolutely terrible.
It looked like a summer pooper.
It looked like a summer pooper, yeah. Which 2025 summer blockbuster are you most excited for?
Got to be Fantastic Four.
Yeah, I think Fantastic Four.
That's the one for me.
I'm so hyped for it. I'm there day one. I can't wait to see it. I hope it lands because I'm absolutely excited for it.
About to bring Marvel back.
Yeah, dude, it better. I love the original Fantastic Four movies.
Me too.
I'm really hoping. I'm excited for Jurassic World
like
too,
the first two.
And like all the other ones. Fantastic Four. We're looking forward to it. We're looking forward to all these summer blockbusters. Keep coming back to the channel because we're going to be reviewing all of them.
Keep tuning in. We're about to ramp up.
Yeah, we got all the summer blockbusters. This is just the beginning. I'm excited for them. Fantastic Four is top of that list.
Yep.
So
things are about to get interesting.
Yeah.
Like, comment, and subscribe.
Yeah, so you didn't ask, but that's a review of Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning, the final Mission Impossible movie. Tom Cruise asked us to trust him one last time. We did, but I did not trust the people next to me to not give some Gluck luck.
Yeah, we were hearing strange sounds.
Mm-hmm. But anyway.
Mission Impossible 4, The Final Reckoning.
That's a review. Till next time.
Check it out.